here we are. This is S.x Love Psych3delics, and I'm your host, Dr. Kat. Bringing you psycho-sexual conversations that will leave you intellectually turned on and hungry for more.
It's also interesting to see because I know you have also been diving into the ancient world and the relationship with sex and both of us in the psychedelics and fertility rites. The interesting thing to see, I think this is tying back to something you said earlier, the sexual revolution and the psychedelic revolution. We have been seeing sexual revolution happen every 50 years. Approximately every 50 years, there's a new sexual revolution. We saw this in the 60s and 70s. We saw this in the roaring 20s. We saw this in the, I don't know, what's 50 years before that? 1850s. So there's, this is, or 50 years, whatever. I'm not a mathematician, but
good.
You get what I'm saying. If we look at each of these things happened immediately after a world tragedy and trauma and suppression and low vibrancy, where we had to go into survival. And then the revolution came after that, coming into our power, coming into our self-expression, coming into hedonistic experimentations. And then we go back into another cycle of puritanical, like how do we, get rid of this again? We even saw this with the AIDS crisis in the 80s, following after this, finding our power. So I wonder, if this will continue to be a cycle. And as we're stepping into this, the ancient world saw very similarly. There are periods of psychedelic use and sexuality and fertility and in the temples and the Dionysus tradition and the Eleusinian mysteries. And then there's followed by destruction and conquest and
crusades
and the crusades. And so, how do we
break the cycle?
Well, yeah, do we?
Yeah, I mean, I certainly don't know the answer to that. I don't know if we can break this cycle. However, if we're going to, it feels like the things that are new and the things that are speeding up exponentially that we have not seen in human history are certainly AI. And so this is going to change the game. We've not seen the internet or anything of the ilk in human history. So the ability to spread ideas, the ability to spread information. And now with AI, like to fake misinformation as well, so it's, the tool is more powerful. It will be used certainly for light and dark in equal measures. But to me, it feels like AI is going to exponentially increase the rate with which we are spreading information around the world, which reminds me very much of the mycelial network.
Yes.
Right. So it's like we are dancing with, merging with, utilizing this mycelial network in new ways. And so it's interesting to see how that will impact AI and how AI will impact humanity. So our mutual friend, Jerry Simpson, I interviewed him on the show as well. He's brilliant. He's developing his own AI and feeding it indigenous wisdom because he believes that, AI is smarter than us and faster than us. So he's like, if we can feed it this indigenous wisdom, it will get to the idea that the only way forward is win-win-win, that this zero-sum game is an unwinnable game. And since most of the AI is being funded by military, that we really need to have AI that is being fed in indigenous information and wisdom. So anyway, long story short is that Jerry's theory is that AI is going to be very similar. It's going to impact consciousness very similarly to fire, because pre-fire, we had to digest our food in our bellies. Like it took so much energy of the body to pre-digest the food. Now, once we discovered fire, it's like, oh, the fire is helping to digest the food. So all of that blood and energy that my stomach had to use was able to go up into my brain. And that's when humans started writing. That's when they started reading. That's when they started passing down like stories from generation to generation so that we could evolve intellectually.
Mm-hmm.
Jerry believes that as AI will start to do computing and information processing much better and much more quickly than we can with our brains, we will outsource that. And so all of the mental energy that we are now spending, even communicating, storing, and processing information, that energy will be freed up. And he's predicting a huge surge in consciousness, that we will start to become almost extrasensorial, as if we are on mushrooms, as if, you know, you look at a human brain on mushrooms and the whole thing lights up. You look at a human brain on meditation and the whole thing lights up. So his prediction is that when we have this surge of available resources in our brain, that will allow us to put more time on things like meditation, telepathy, you know, so all the like sort of esoteric arts, because we're not going to be so mired in the facts.
Yeah. Yeah. Which we do know some of the monks who do this every single day, they do have access to those.
Yeah. I mean, it happened to me even on like a 5-day darkness retreat. I started to have trans visual sight. Like I was in pitch black darkness, but I could see outside. I could see the trees. I could see the stars. I could see all of my toiletries on my bed. I thought they had opened a window on day 5 to like prepare me for like my day that I was coming out. And I was like, no, Emily, it's still pitch black, but I could see.
Yeah.
It was wild.
Yeah. Yeah. I love this. And so I think a lesson from that, from Jerry, is also to remember, like with the fire, when Prometheus brought the fire, there was power now with man, but there was also destruction. And so with the increase of AI, with the increase of these technologies, how are we taking responsibility to care for that, you know, to see how it's used? As our sexual, as we step into our sexual revolution and our own power, how are we taking responsibility for that?
Yes.
And
thank you for saying that. I just watched Oppenheimer 2 nights ago, so I'm really happy on the Prometheus idea. And we talk about stealing fire, talk about using power for, you know, for light or for dark.
Yeah.
And so just thank you for drawing that analogy that sexual energy is that potent. It is that powerful. It can be that healing. And we're swimming in a society that is living proof of how destructive it can be. And so, I mean, I think that any sort of bringing consciousness is a step forward. And we want to take care to really recognize the potency and the potential with the power of sexual energy.
And psychedelics, right? And then especially when we combine the two of those
Ooh.
together.
I am on fire.
Yeah.
Well, that was fun. Thanks for tuning in, lovers. And if you want to experience more ecstasy and sexual liberation, head over to s.xlovepsychedelics.com and learn about how you can join me for any one of my online or live events. And while you're there, grab my free guide on sex and psychedelics. Remember, this podcast is for entertainment and educational purposes only. Please contact your healthcare provider and local law before pursuing any of the products or psychedelics discussed. And one final note here. I make this show specifically for you. If you're loving the show, then be sure to leave me a review in iTunes or Spotify to let me know. Happy to be here and happy to serve. I'll see you next time on S.x Love Psychedelics.